we're going to have to talk about sales. What is the biggest secret in sales?
Oh, I genuinely think sales transforms people. Before sales, I was working at McDonald's, had like pimples all over my face, still had my glasses, kind of nerdy, really shy. I wasn't the main guy. When I got into sales, I had to become someone different. I got rejected a ton, and I think that builds character as well. There was a moment I was looking at the screen studying, and I just thought, fuck this. This is so boring.
Next Wednesday, it's 4 p.m. in the afternoon, 3 or 4 back-to-back sales calls. I've got a closer who's doing the same thing, so we're both busy, we can't review, we can't help each other. What should we be doing before, during, and after to increase the chances of making that deal go through?
If you believe you need a pre-call routine, do it. You have to be present. Because if you actively listen to someone, you'll know what to ask next. Whatever happened during that call, especially if it was negative, don't take that energy into the next one. Never say the word. Just remove it from your vocabulary. Just swap for. Once they see me sell, they're in. Your skill isn't based on...
He learned it by obsessing. Orlando Santucci didn't just sell. He built a system that's made millions without cold calling, without awkward pitches, without sounding like every other high-ticket closer online. He reverse-engineered the psychology behind why people buy and then taught thousands of others how to close ethically and effortlessly. In this episode, we go deep into how he scaled Closers Cult, why most sales advice is garbage, and the mindset shift that separates hustlers from closers who print cash.
Before we dive into this episode, I want to take a second to speak about our sponsor, Pith and Stem, who we are thrilled to have on this journey with us. As someone who is always looking for ways to improve my healthy hustle, Pith and Stem's drop-top desk stood out to me as the best full work-from-home solution on the market. The world of work from home is changing, and a laptop or screen perched on your lap or dining room table isn't enough anymore. It's imperative that we have a solution at home that matches our productivity station that we can have in our office. But of course, homes weren't made to be worked in, and not all of us want a dedicated study. That's why I'm so happy that Pith and Stem created this perfect solution. They designed this desk with both the needs of the professional and their home in mind. It's perfect because it allows me to have a full productivity station that suits my needs and helps me get the most out of every minute that I spend at it, not only so I work comfortably, but that I actually enjoy it. And the best thing about DropTop, I can close and lock it at the end of the day to keep work and home separate. And it looks awesome on the wall. You can get your DropTop desk anywhere in the world from pithandstem.com or just Google DropTop and you'll find it pretty quickly.
Thank you so much for listening and watching these episodes. It feels like you're really part of the journey with us. And can I ask you one favor to help us grow even further? You may have noticed that we've been getting some amazing guests on. We've got more listeners than ever. But you can help us continue to give value to you by clicking that subscribe or follow button below. It helps us to show everyone else how well we're doing and therefore give you more value by getting bigger guests and take the podcast on the road. It takes you 2 seconds and it's completely free and it helps us more than you know. Thank you.
So Orlando, what happened in your past that you think has made you the person that you've become today?
I would say, there's so many factors. Probably my upbringing with my mum and how often we moved. We moved quite a lot when I was a kid. So during primary school, we moved like every year to a different school. And I think, like thinking about it, having to move every year, like you constantly have to make new friends and new groups. And so it was good in the sense that it taught me how to meet and talk to new people and build new friend groups, which I think has like still helped me to this day. But it might have also ingrained in me to be a gypsy, which I am bit now, just traveling the world.
Yeah.
So, and all of that probably leads into sales as well. Just learning how to communicate, meet new people, talk to people.
Yeah, absolutely. Why, you grew up in Australia, right? Why were you moving around so often?
Just by choice. My mum just wanted to move quite a lot every year. And
with work or just?
No, just like we would go, so we went to the Sunshine Coast on holiday. And I remember as a kid, I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I want to live here. And I was like, done. All right, we're living there now. Yeah.
And she just moved the family over there?
Yeah.
It was just you two?
So I've got a brother and then my dad as well.
Cool.
And we had a little sister. I've got a little sister too.
What happened in their upbringing to make them happy to move so often? Like, was it something that their parents instilled in them that moving was a thing and you can do anything if you just move your location?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, my mum like she's had some mental health challenges and things like that. So that's probably part of it. But it's just like, even if we were in the same city, like we would move houses, we'd move apartments, buy new furniture. Like it was just constant change.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was just a thing that we did.
So how do you think that played into who you've become today in terms of resilience? Because I think I've known you for only a few weeks, but you seem like a super resilient guy. Resilience is definitely part of your story, and we'll get onto sales and like how you're sort of almost the heart of the party every time you're at one. So how did that resilience impact your early years, right? So you're moving around a lot, you're building resilience, but then school and your early career, how did the resilience benefit you?
Well, I think the resilience only really like developed and benefited me in the past few years, actually, like maybe 5 years, because when we were doing that constantly, in primary school it was fine, but in high school I noticed that like my self-confidence and like my self-esteem was like actually quite low, and I was low for a while. And it wasn't until I started like actually doing things online and putting myself out there that I developed that resilience and confidence. Because before then, I was quite like scared of people's judgment and what they would think about me, and low self-esteem. So
I think this is something that people listening would be really, really resonating with, because so many people just struggle with the overthinking, and that leads to anxiety, and it leads to so many obstacles, right? So what would be your advice to someone when they want to break out and do something, but they're just terrified of being judged by the people that are around them currently?
Well, I blocked my family on social media.
Okay. I blocked everyone. When I left my last job, like
Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago, I blocked every single person that I knew before I
Yeah.
did anything. Yeah. Sorry, you go.
Yeah, I don't think my family knows this, but yeah, I blocked them for like a few months when I first started it. And then I didn't tell them until I was already making money. So that was like a little hack. But also, like, the next best thing is just changing your environment and who you're with. I know that everyone says it, but genuinely, like, who you talk to every day is the biggest influence on your thoughts, your opinions, your beliefs. And even just the last year, me traveling has like completely changed like a lot of my beliefs, who I see myself as, my own self-confidence. So I'd say environment.
Environment is a massive factor. And also something that one of our mentors told me probably maybe 18 months ago, maybe 2 years, was no one hates down. They only hate up, which kind of maybe comes across as a bit overconfident, but I think at some point you've got to build so much confidence that you then take action. Then you can reduce that confidence so it doesn't turn into arrogance. But no one above you, whether they're making more money, they're fitter, they're more intelligent, they're not going to hate you for trying. I always think it's the people behind you, in whatever setting it might be, are the ones that will try and bring you back, because they don't want to see you escape and get escape velocity to leave them behind when they think maybe they've got insecurities and they should be changing their life. I wonder if that's a factor.
Well, more often than not, the guys who have made it or are successful in any area, they had to improve that probably. Like, I once sucked at sales. Like, I was once super low confidence. So if I see someone trying to do that and build that up, knowing that I started there, I'm not going to hate on them. It's like a jack guy at the gym. Everyone started off with a worse physique than, 5 years into training, most likely.
So true. And before we started recording the podcast, you mentioned that last night you went and saw Andy Elliott, who's the if you don't know, Andy Elliott is like the super brash American jacked sales guy, right? So I'm right up your street in the sales space. Yeah. What did he tell you, maybe directly or indirectly, about confidence that you think would be worth sharing?
So one thing that he says quite often is chase the man, don't chase the money.
Okay.
And I actually really resonate with that. I disagree with probably most of his sales tactics, but what I will never disagree with was what he was saying on a personal level. Like, who you become is what attracts people and success. And so when he said chase the man, not chase the money, I thought that was a key takeaway. He told me to get jacked. That was one thing. He told me that directly.
Classic.
Fair enough. Yeah, that was the biggest thing that stood out to me.
Chase the man, not the money.
Yeah.
I wonder if we can break that down. Like, I wonder what obviously he's trying to say that you don't need the money, you can look after, you can just go after being the person that you want to be. But I wonder why people are attracted to that, because we have this conversation quite often where if you don't put yourself out there, you could have the best marketing, you could have the best product and service, but no one's ever going to find you. And worse than that, they might find you and they just haven't got that slight emotion to get over the line and buy. And you're the perfect person to talk about this too, because sales, at least the way I see it, is a balance of emotion and logic. So I think that I usually go, this is maybe everyone, I usually get bought in from emotion, but there has to be strong logic for me to actually buy something.
Yeah.
Is that true?
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, people buy emotionally, they justify with logic.
They justify
I
with
learned
logic.
that from Jason Capital, I believe, one of my first mentors. And it's true. So, like, yes, you want to get emotion, but it has to be founded in reality. Otherwise, it's just this airy-fairy thing,
Yeah.
and it's probably less likely you'll get the sale.
But then I have friends that they swear like they're really logical people. Like if you looked at like a personality test, they are 100% on the logical side, and they're like, I only get to a sales conversation through logic. Like there has to be guarantees, bonuses. They can see that this would be unreasonable not to buy, and then right at the end when they're talking to the person on the phone or whatever it might be, they then are looking emotionally for a reason not to buy. Which I think is such an odd way of doing it, but I guess that's as a salesperson, you've got to then understand the different personalities you're dealing with, perhaps.
Well, it's also one thing for them to say they buy logically, because it's kind of cool to say that. I don't make decisions emotionally. I only buy with
That's
logic.
so true.
I'm a smart man. Makes sense that people would say that. But most decisions are founded on some kind of emotion. Even if it's buying a Coca-Cola or a Coke Zero. Like people think, oh yeah, it's a logical choice. I'm thirsty, I've had a bunch of water, I'll get a Coke. But you envisioning the sip of the Coke, that's a feeling. That's an emotion. So even people who say they buy logically, they might not know it on a conscious level, but I would argue that subconsciously there's emotion founded in that logic.
That's
So
a really good point.
let's say someone's at 100 grand a month and they want to get to 200 grand a month, and they think from a purely logical perspective, will this get me there? Deep down, there's something about that 200k a month that has an emotional impact on them, even if they don't know it.
Deep down, yeah, that's so true. I mean, in my mind, I'm just going, it's not quite the same, but I'm going to, there was a bit of news that I saw yesterday where in the UK, they've banned the sale of reusable vapes,
Okay.
which is, it's not really relevant. It's not high ticket. It's not 100k a month. But I guess when someone buys that, there is a fully emotional buy, right? You could say they're addicted to something, but I would argue that with vapes, they're not addicted. They are just the emotion there that everyone around them is buying negates any logic that you might need, right? Which is similar to what you're saying. You get there so much with emotion, and then you logically buy, okay, the disposable vape is the cheapest one. I'm going to get it. I'm going to use it for a party, whatever. And they've banned that. So then I guess what's the next step? They're then going to go to probably the ones that are not. What's the disposable? Yeah, they've got rid of disposable ones. So they're going to go for the reusable ones. They're going to spend more money and go to the next step, which then puts another barrier to entry in because you've got to spend more money. So you've got to increase the logic. Is this a good decision? Obviously, I'm forcing this into the conversation because it's probably not quite how you buy that kind of thing. Because it's, we're talking about £5 or £10 or dollars rather than high, but it still makes it's still similar, right? Where like, if everyone around you is buying a $10,000 service or product, the emotion goes, I've got to buy this.
Yeah, feeling is emotion, right? Even if it's just feeling like you want to be part of the group. If a lot of people that you respect their opinion or their views, or you look up to them even, if they're all doing something, you're going to feel more comfortable doing that. Like that goes back to caveman days, just being part of the tribe, right? So that is a feeling. But when people think emotion, they think, when they say they buy logically, or they sell, B2B, I hear a lot of the time, I sell B2B, it's different. So they think that they only buy logically, but those people still have emotion. It's just they consider emotion as like crying or like, oh, it'd make me so happy, it'd make me feel so good. Like not all emotion looks the same. I sell to successful guys all the time that, they might be already making 50, 100k a month. They're already making decent money, but they want to get to that next level. And most people would say, oh, that's a logical buy. And yes, maybe it's slightly more logical on the surface level, but for them, it's an identity. They want to become the guy that's $1 million earner. And behind that, there's feeling. I was speaking to another guy that, was making 40k a month. He wanted to get to 30k a month from sales, even though he was, already doing well with his real estate business. And we got to the root issue that his wife is running the real estate business, and he feels like he wants to provide as a man, and it was an identity sell for him. So we got to that level with someone that's already making, fairly decent money.
Which is very similar to what you're saying about Andy Elliott. Like he was talking about becoming the man, right? He's trying to play on the emotions of you could do better if you were jacked and you were looking big and fit and muscly. Not that you're not, I'm just using the example. And I guess it's such a good point. And I want to talk to you about how you've evolved, right? So 23. So in the last 3 to 5 years, how do you think you've evolved as a person to where you are now? Because I think people listening or people in general are quite they're quite intrigued, I guess is the word, of young people who are successful, or they deem to be successful. Because people listen to this, you know, maybe in Europe or the US, Australia, you know, UK, lots of them will be entrepreneurs, mostly entrepreneurs. And they might not be making the money that you're making. And they're going to go, what have I done wrong? Quite often, you know, we get asked, what have you done different to me? I've been in the business for 20 years. How have you got podcast listeners, or how have you done this or whatever? And so I'm interested in what you think has happened to make you evolved in the last 3 to 5 years since you left, you know, the conveyor belt of education.
Yeah. I genuinely think sales transforms people, because before sales, I was working at McDonald's, had like pimples all over my face, still had my glasses. I was like kind of nerdy, really shy with new people. And at McDonald's, like I wasn't the main guy. Like I wasn't the life of McDonald's. They would put me at top window, which is essentially where you're taking orders for drive-through, but you're on your own in this room. They usually put the boring people there. So that's where they put me. And so that's who I was. And then when I got into sales, I had to become someone different. Like I had to evolve. I had to become a person that can lead a conversation, that can ask tough questions. And I got rejected a ton. And I think that builds character as well. So I would genuinely put a lot of my reason for changing as a person down to sales, because it forces you to become better. Otherwise you won't make any money.
You'd be so surprised the amount of people that we've spoken to on this podcast or just in our general life who do 7, 8, 9 figures who started at McDonald's. It's so interesting that like it's just a fundamental, right? It's obviously a prevalent job, but also I think it teaches a lot of systemization, and it forces you to want to take some of that success that they've had and, you know, the founders have had into their life. So I guess my question would be, did you enjoy or want to make that change, or was it that you were forced into it when you decided that you were going to try sales because that was what was you thought was the path for you?
I wanted to change it for a long time. I just didn't have the right vehicle to do so. So even when I was at McDonald's and I was shy, or I wasn't, you know, attracting the girls I wanted in my life, or I wasn't making friends with the guys that I wanted to be friends with, I wanted to change that. Part of it was not knowing how. And also, yeah, I just wasn't, nothing really changed me. I guess I just didn't do certain things. But then when I got into sales, there's one of my first mentors, Johnny Anton, my second mentor. He taught me a lot about congruency, which links back to what Andy Elliott said. The message I get from Chase the Man is be congruent. Be the person that you want your prospects to be. If you want your prospect to take action and to not delay things and to have conviction in the decision they're going to make, are you that way? Like, do you act that way? If a personal trainer is fat, you're going to take them less seriously. So I think that's the message, that congruency.
I've always completely agreed with that, especially the PT one. But I just had my eyes opened in the last 6 months to like some of the best boxing coaches in the world have never been professional boxers, or some of the best like F1 team bosses or the best business coaches have never run their own businesses. So whilst I still agree to a certain extent, I think there's still a little bit of a marketing spin on when people say congruency, because he obviously wants to sell you, Andy Elliott I'm talking about, obviously wants to sell you, get jacked, you're going to thank me for that, and you'll make more money. And there's definitely a couple of different paths off that I think is worth exploring.
I agree. Like you sometimes, I mean, the best football coaches, soccer coaches, they're not always the best players. I totally get that perspective. I just don't think there's any disadvantages to becoming a better person. Like if Andy walked in that room yelling into the mic and he was fat, I doubt he would have had the same level of control
with the audience that he wants to inspire.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. It's also your target market. Something he said to me privately is, he said, I don't need 8 billion people that are on the world. He said, most people hate me. That's fine. He said, I only need 100,000. Find your tribe.
Oh, 100%. You should. I just think, especially with AI and especially with the amount of people that are on social media now, just in the world, actually, it's not even social media. The worst place you can be is on the fence. We actually had this conversation over coffee last week, didn't we? Like, the worst place you can be is on the fence. You've got to actually put your opinions out there, because no one actually sits on the fence, I don't think. in their minds.
Yeah.
They just don't want that judgment. It goes back to judgment again. They just don't want anyone to go, you're wrong.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh God, I can't explain this, or I don't quite bother to explain this. I think he's completely right. You know, you've got to do something. There's a guy that I know in Dubai who he's on Alex Hormozi's top level training thing. So he sees Hormozi in person every 6 months in Vegas. He sees him on calls every couple of weeks. And he's got a business that's doing like nearly 8 figures a year. And he said to him, I think I might open it up to, it's business coaching effectively, but for like a certain set of people, like PTs or people in fitness. He was like, I might open it up to more service business or more online businesses. And Hormozi just stopped and was like, there's 18 million ideal clients for you in the US alone. In the world, there's probably 100 million. You only need 1,500, if that, and you're going to get to like 10 million a year. And so why would you open it up? So you like you say, or like Andy said to you yesterday, if you just narrow down on one thing, there's more value than you think.
Yeah. And yeah, you don't need everyone. You probably don't want everyone.
Imagine
either.
trying to have everyone.
Yeah.
Like imagine the HR, the customer service.
Yeah.
Orlando, what or how would you define confidence?
I think it comes back to your word, doing what you say and believe you should do, because there's people who swear by morning routines or swear by a certain thing and they need to do it to feel confident. And there's other guys who just wake up, jump on a call, close it, because in their mind, they don't believe that it's that important. So I think it's whatever you believe is good and doing that and actually sticking with that. That's confidence.
I think that is such a good definition. There's a guy here at the minute in Dubai who's from America. He's Ashton Hall.
Yeah.
Do you know him? He's the guy that's going viral.
Morning routine.
Morning routine, exactly.
Yeah.
He's doing, I don't know how many views, millions of views. Oh God, he's everywhere. And I saw him doing an amazing reel the other day with, he does sprint reels, doesn't he? He did one with DJ Khaled.
Okay.
Oh my God, it's so funny. It's so funny. But,
with the music as well.
With the music, and they both got their tops off. Obviously, one's shredded and one is like 30 stone overweight. Anyway, his morning routine starts at 3 a.m. He fills a bowl up with like $20 a bottle of water, ice, does all this stuff. And I just think it, like, when we first started our business, I would have seen that and followed it and been like, here we go. They're all doing this. And then you start to look around, you're like, Warren Buffett literally gets up at like 7:30, drives to McDonald's, chooses one of 3 things on the menu, goes to work. He's done it for 60 years. He's a billionaire. He's happy as hell. Other people need morning routines. And I just think you're completely right that, you know, people get sidetracked by things that aren't important. And if you just find something that works for you, again, back to your personality, I genuinely believe, like, I do way better work in the morning. So I will work really, really effectively from like 6 a.m. to like 12:30, have lunch, work for another couple of hours, then gym, and then do any calls I need to. I'll push that, and I'll also like backfill my calendar. So if you want to call with me, the first call available will be 6 p.m. And then the last call available might be 3. Like, that's how it's going to work, because I want to backfill. But I only realized that maybe a year ago. And before I was like, yeah, cool, let's book a call in whenever you want, let's go for coffee. And you realize that you're just playing second fiddle to everyone else, right? And it's not congruent with who you want to be in your own routine.
Yeah. Everyone's got their own thing, you know, like Hormozi as well, like you mentioned, like he doesn't really have a morning routine, just gets up and works.
Yeah.
I think it just comes down to what you believe is right.
Yeah, I completely agree. I really like that. How important is brand to you and your business Closers Cult?
For me, it's super important. One of my favorite compliments I get is, dude, you're the exact same off camera as you are on camera. Like, obviously on camera, it's a little bit more, but you're the same person.
Yeah.
And I actually really like hearing that, because that's what I want. I don't want to be a completely different person on video compared to who I am in person. So I would say, like, staying authentic and like being who I am, and who I am will change constantly, but bringing that in my brand, I think that's super important.
You know, you see these YouTubers who haven't got businesses, they're just influencers, but on YouTube, massive followings, and you know, they're really loved on the platform. And you constantly see them getting stick in the media or in the press because they're just not the same on and off camera. A good example actually was Theo Von. He's got like he's in the top 10 podcasts in the world. And he recently attacked a fan at a bar, like got him around the throat and threw him back.
Oh, no.
And everyone was like, he's like a hillbilly kind of guy on his podcast and his brand. In real life, like, he's quite a serious guy. Like it's an act, it's a character. You've got to understand that. And I think you're right. You've got to stay true to who you are, right?
And it's tough because you being more exaggerative on video gets way more views. And like, I still exaggerate slightly. Like I have to, to like, obviously I could still be 100% calm as I normally am. But if I believe what I'm saying and I just exaggerate the way I say it, I still believe that's authentic to me. But you get way more views. If I say controversial stuff and like proper go harder than I even am now, that would probably get way more views.
Yeah, of course.
So it's hard to stay true to yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I just think long form is the way to go. I just can't stand the high dopamine edits, and I think you're right. You got to stay true to yourself. We had Lara Costa on the podcast maybe 6 months ago. She's like the biggest female LinkedIn influencer, and she was like, authenticity has become this buzzword, and especially on LinkedIn, they're using it in the way where it's like, I lost a 7-figure deal last week. And then you sort of scroll down and it's like, but it's okay because I made 10 6-figure deals. They've sort of lost their way of what authenticity is. And I think you're right. You've got to, it's actually congruent actually. It comes back to your point earlier. This whole like story arc going back to the same points of like, just be a good person. Work towards being a good person and you'll go further than you think.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that I've seen, like they get found out after a year. I'm in this for the long game. So
you can tell a lot about someone by how they treat people around them, right? I think that's so obvious.
Yeah.
If someone's horrible to like servers or taxi drivers or staff, you just immediately go, I don't want to be anywhere near you.
Yeah.
You've got a really unique way of building trust, right? You're doing really well on channels like YouTube and you've actually got 2 YouTube channels, right?
Yeah.
So at the moment, how are you finding the best way to build that trust and drive people towards your YouTube channel is? What's the tactical, the bit of advice that you think is valuable for the brand building on the sort of long form platforms?
Well, for me, a lot of my traffic on YouTube comes from Instagram. So I get some through YouTube as well, but a lot of it's from Instagram. So on Instagram, I'm posting 2, sometimes 3 times a day, every single day on my story. Like I haven't not posted my story in ages, like pretty much every day. So I think that consistency, and I do genuinely provide a lot of value. Some of it's controversial, but with the controversy is the value as well. And then when I say, cool, there's a snippet, and then I'll have like a comment breakdown to watch me close a full sales call. It's like, it's such a no-brainer. Oh, of course, yeah. And then once they see me sell, they're in. Like I had a guy yesterday who we're doing some one-on-one work now, and I asked him, I said, from a marketing perspective, what made you want to work with me? And he said, I just kept seeing you on Instagram. He said, every single day I saw you. And then he's like, let me check out one of his YouTube videos. And then he watched me sell and break it down. And then he booked in a call. So I think it's the consistency on Instagram and then getting them to YouTube.
So there's that Google, what would you call it? Like research, I guess. And they looked at 0 moments. And so you need to, I think we might have spoken about this again. You need 7 hours of content, 11 interactions on 4 platforms. And I just think that the way that you've built your brand is super authentic on Instagram. And then what you effectively do is then say, there's more of me here, by the way. And there's no real sell. It's just like, there is more. You can have more information. And yours, like I say, yours is really authentic. You're showing like what you actually do, but also you're showing your lifestyle. You're showing the, as you put it, the gypsy sort of way of life, moving around, seeing friends, having fun. You're almost showing a lifestyle which is so realistic that someone could achieve. And then you're saying, by the way, here's some more. Here's some longer form. I think that's where people are going so wrong, especially people that are a bit older. Maybe they don't quite get that. They see Instagram certainly as like just a mark, like a brochure. Like, here's what I'm doing now. They don't realize that that's how you can get 7 hours of watch time on Instagram. There's so many reels. But if you just keep pushing people towards the bigger stuff, I think there's massive value in that.
I think the thing I see, I have friends that just overthink their content because they want it to be perfect. And a lot of the time I'll see like new pages and they have like proper podcast setup, the best camera, the best lighting, and they get no views. Yeah. Because it's like, just post whatever you want for 100 times and then focus on like making it better, in my opinion at least.
Exactly. But this goes back to what you said about confidence, right? It's just doing the thing and being the person you want to be, and then the content becomes relatively easy.
Yeah, and the more you do it, the less you care. Like now, I've gotten a lot of hate comments.
Nice.
Just like
Good.
people going back and forth, and it just doesn't faze me anymore.
No.
I only get triggered, or not triggered, but like I'll feel something if it's someone I respect their opinion of.
Yes. Yeah.
Like if I respect someone's opinion, like for example, I went pretty hard on Jeremy Minor in one of my reels on Facebook, and someone else who I respect, Matt Ryder, he commented saying, you know, you haven't met him. You can't judge his person without meeting him. And I was like, you know what? That's a fair point, because I respect him. So when I saw that comment, I was like, okay, let me think more about that next time. But if it's some random no profile pic with 3 underscores,
who cares?
fuck off.
Who cares? So, you know, all of this comes back to that resilience again. We're going to have to talk about sales, because I feel like to get into sales, especially what you do, you've got to build up some really thick skin. Yeah. Because people are going to turn you down so much. Sales is a game of being turned down, right? Whether you're good at it or not, you're still going to get turned down a fair few times. Maybe you'll disagree. What got you into sales and specifically like the high ticket closing?
So I accidentally got into sales because I was studying at university construction management, and 4 weeks into my degree, COVID hit. So we started studying online. And I remember there was a moment I was looking at the screen studying, and I just thought, fuck this. This is so boring. What am I doing? And then I would go on Instagram or TikTok actually, and I saw Jason Capital's videos. And one day on Instagram, he put up a story saying, you know, type messages on social media, make $1,000 a week. I was like, sweet. So long story short, I did that after shitting my pants for $1,000 investment. Got into that. And then another Instagram branding agency hit me up asking me to sell for them, but I had to pay to sell for them. So I paid $1,500 USD to sell for them. And then I started selling for them for 9 months.
And when you say selling for them, what does that mean for people that don't understand how the sales process works?
Yeah, so it wasn't a typical inbound closer role. People show up on your calendar, you close. It was you build your own Instagram, send out 50 to 100 cold DMs a day, DM them, get them on a call, and then try and close them. So I did the full back to front process from day one.
And what percentage would they give you for that?
I got 20%.
Okay.
And then eventually 25%.
But you're literally like building a business for them.
Yeah. Which I didn't realize at the time.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, it was actually, looking back, I'm glad I did it because it's actually so relevant for me today. But yeah, that was the first sales role I had.
I bet you learned so much from that though.
Yeah, I didn't even know I was in sales like 9 months in, because I was with my girlfriend at the time's family, and you know, what do you do for work? Oh, and then I explained this long story about what I do, and they're like, so
Sales.
You're in sales? I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm in sales.
I must be in sales.
Yeah.
Serious question.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on Shelby Sapp?
She is a phenomenal marketer, like really good at content. And I think you can obviously tell that because of her following and how much her business has grown. When it comes to her sales tactics, I think her actual ideas that come from her are garbage. The ideas that she repeats from other people, they're solid, but I don't think they're her ideas.
Okay. So people that don't know, Shelby's this person that's gone absolutely viral. 23.
Yeah, I think she's similar to my age.
Yeah, from the US. She's set up an academy that helps women become sales reps. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And she's just gone viral. She's getting millions of views across Instagram. I think she's doing $2 million a month now. And what a lot of people are saying in the industry is that she's basically copying other things, other strategies, and putting them into one place, and then she's effectively marketing herself as this influencer with this lifestyle that you could take on. So what would you say why do you disagree with what she does in terms of selling, like helping you sell better?
So she, from what I understand, was really good at door-to-door sales.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of tactics in door-to-door sales that works, but then translating that to high-ticket sales over Zoom is completely different. So like these high pressure or rebuttal tactics of, you know, if they like, she had one reel where she says, you know, if you want a man to spend money, just tell him he's broke. You know, that was the hook. And essentially it was like gaslighting men to spend money, which, like, yeah, if you're door to door, you're a pretty girl. She's an attractive girl. You can't deny that. You knock on a door and you gaslight a man to spend money. Yeah, he'll probably do it. But over Zoom, if you're selling a high ticket program and maybe you're a average looking guy, those tactics don't really work. So that would be my main disagreement. But, you know, sounds like she was really good at door to door. I don't know if she did any high ticket sales herself outside of her own business, but yeah, that's what I would say.
I think, you know, as someone that I don't teach people how to do sales, like I know roughly what our team do that works, but I'm here to learn from you and explore the whole thing, right? So let me give you this scenario. Next Wednesday, it's 4 p.m. in the afternoon. I've got 3 or 4 back-to-back sales calls. I've got a closer who's doing the same thing. So we're both busy. We can't review. We can't help each other. What should we be doing before, during, and after?
Pause. Sorry, it's me, Freddie, interrupting myself. I just want to point out how well this guest is doing at building trust with you, the audience. They're adding value, they're giving inspiration, and they're hopefully educating you on a few different areas. You see, we're in a trust recession, and becoming a podcast guest is literally the best way to continue to build trust while so many are struggling. We've built a community of incredible entrepreneurs, all becoming the top most in-demand podcast guests in the world. And if you click some of our links below, not only have we got templates to help you become a top guest, we've also got a community that you can join to get yourself to where you want to be. Now back to the episode.
After that period, to increase the chances of making that deal go through.
In terms of like a habit or a routine before.
Yeah.
Okay, so before the call is genuinely up to the person. It's the exact same as morning routines. If you believe you need a pre-call routine, do it. I know some people that have scents and even crystals, and they do that before their calls, and that works. Cool.
Not the crystals. I hear so much about crystals.
Me, I just rock up. During the call, the biggest thing is presence. There's so many, like pretty much everyone I work with at some point, I have to tell them, hey, what did he just say when I'm reviewing a call? And then they're like, oh yeah, what did he say? Because they're not present.
They're not listening.
Yeah. It's just waiting to ask the next question on the script or on the process. I'm not saying don't have a script, don't have a process, but you have to be present. Because if you actively listen to someone, you'll know what to ask next. So that's during the call. And after the call, whatever happened during that call, especially if it was negative, maybe they didn't buy, maybe you did some objection handling, you're super frustrated, you're like, damn, I wish he bought. Don't take that energy into the next one. Unless it's if it's a sale, then yes, take it in. But so many times reps get discouraged because they'll have one bad call and then the next 3 where they were great leads, they screw it up because they let that energy affect them.
Yeah, and I guess if you're doing back-to-back, you've got to be really clear that, you know, I'm rolling straight into the next one, might have a 15-minute gap. I'm going to use that to do a quick bit of research or reset or get some water. You haven't got time to digest someone who's just been rude to you or turn you down.
Yeah.
What do you think in terms of body language? So when we're talking to people who, you know, high-level people that want to be better on podcasts, one of the really simple things we talk about body language is, I'll give you the example right now, right? So I will always look at you in your left eye with my left eye, because what that's doing is I'm effectively looking straight at that camera. Even though I'm looking at you, I'm concentrating on you, but I know I'm looking in the camera. If I look at you with my right eye, even without moving my body, I should have just stayed still. I'm looking away from the camera, so it gets a funny angle on me.
Yeah.
So it's a really easy, just little tip, just to go, I always look left eye to left eye, I'm looking straight at the camera, so it gets a better shot of me. Is there something that you can do on a sales call that's like that? Or, you know, how do you come across as high empathy, if that's even the thing to do, to then help the you know, rapport, I guess?
Yeah. There's so many.
Okay, cool.
One main thing that I see too many people doing is fidgeting a lot. They'll fidget, they'll do this, they'll rock back and forth on their chair, they'll do this, they'll adjust, and it just signals lack of confidence.
Okay.
So be kind of stoic in your body language, and then at certain times you can change it. So if I want to be empathetic, if you just told me something that's really vulnerable, you know, and I say something like, you know, thank you for sharing that, like, you know, and then I go into the next thing, but I appreciate you. I might lean in a little bit. I might put my body forward a bit. If I'm in objection handling and it's quite tense, I'll generally lean back on my chair, because when you lean back, your shoulders back, you're relaxed. It signals like you don't need the sale. There's detachment. If I'm in your face and I'm leaning forward and I'm really like looking at the camera in that way, that can be quite like, people can feel resistance towards that. So there's heaps of things you can do with body language. Those are the main 2.
I guess that works, and that would work in so many negotiations as well. Like I could think about, I guess it's always a buying scenario, but if you're negotiating with someone, it doesn't even have to be about buying. It could be anything. like those tactics would work really well, I think.
Yeah.
Like you actually, we've got a mutual friend, Sharko, who was on the podcast recently, and he talked about communication and body language, and the non-verbal was way more important. And you can, even when someone talks about it, my mind just starts to wander and go, there's so many things that if someone does, you immediately go, oh, I don't trust you, or you're not confident, or you're going to try and scam me. There's so many things that I guess you've got to be careful of.
Yeah, even so, if you want people to trust you, then being more casual in your body language. So if I'm like in a social setting and I've just met someone, you know, I might be relaxed, you know, like this, just very casual, because it also, when you open up your body, again, back to caveman days, it kind of shows like you're not hiding anything.
Yeah.
This is last hack. I love this topic, but last hack on body language. If you want someone to trust you, or you're, you know, leaning out, you can show your palms, because again, it says, I have no weapons.
Yeah.
I have nothing to hide. And you'll see even, you know, presidents do this. Like Donald Trump, whenever he's doing a speech, a lot of the time when he's making a point, he'll do this. And it's actually, there's science behind it.
I love like the psychology of human behavior. I think it's absolutely fascinating. So in the same vein, what's something that you should never do on a sales call? Or we could even open this up to a bit further. What's something you should never do if you're trying to negotiate or build trust?
Body language, or just in general?
In general, you can open it up.
Something you should never do that might lose you trust. You never want to attack someone's ideas, which sounds obvious, but like you don't want to have people feel like they're wrong. You don't want to tell people things or say, you know, I get that you think that way, but like never say the word but. It's not productive at all.
Okay.
Just remove it from your vocabulary.
Because that's interesting, because it's signaling you're about to go exactly against what they just said.
Exactly.
No way.
But, and then it sounds like I'm going to cancel out your point.
Yeah.
So that was something Johnny Anton taught me as well. He just swap but for and. Yeah, I totally get that. And at the same time, XYZ perspective. But if I go, yeah, I get what you're saying, but it sounds like it's you versus them.
Is that in the same vein as if you're objection handling? So someone's saying, oh, I need to talk to my wife, or I need to talk to my husband, or I need to check the bank balance, whatever it is. How do you get them to come to their own conclusion and then teach rather than tell?
Yeah, so you start off by like diffusing. It's kind of like a bomb, right? You want to like diffuse the bomb first before anything, because if that bomb goes off, you're cooked. Like it's done.
Yeah.
So diffuse the bomb. So something like, yeah, no worries at all, no stress. That's the language I sort of use. Before you go and chat with, oh, by the way, what's your partner's name? Rebecca. Cool. Before you go chat with Rebecca, like, do you genuinely feel like everything we went through can actually help you get to those 10K months, that you can XYZ? Because that's the most important thing. Yes. Well, why do you feel like it can though? Just from your perspective. So then they're telling me all of the reasons they like the program, they like what we do. And then if you think, okay, what does that do to the person? They go from a state of, I want to do this, but I have to go chat with my partner, a state of no, shutting down, I don't want to do this, and shifting them to, here's all the reasons I want to do this, but they're telling you. That's how it started off. So that's how you like shift someone's state really quickly.
So how do you, from that, how do you know when you've lost someone? How do you know when that bomb has gone off? Because we've all been on calls buying anything where you just go, okay, I'm 100% gone. I'm not buying this. And then they won't let you get off the call, you know, just clicking the red button and leaving. Like, how do you deal with that?
So you know that that it's over, that the call's cooked, if no matter what you say, it goes in one ear and then it's the same response.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, there is a way out of it. You have to pattern interrupt them though. So for example, if I'm doing all these reframes, all these rebuttals, they go, yeah, you know, you're right. I still need to go think about it. Like something like that, that's a sign that you're cooked. So to get them out of that, it's you got to pattern interrupt. So I would even call that out. I would even say something like, and by the way, do you notice what's happening here? And they're like, what? Like they get all confused. Yeah, well, every time that I say something, you say you're right. And then we go back to the same way of thinking. Why do you think that happens? And then all of a sudden you're like getting them to dissect why they keep reverting back to it. And then I'll go into, you know, how their brain wants to protect them. It wants to keep doing the same things they've always done. We might get to that point, but that's how you know that they're kind of shutting down if they just keep coming to the same response.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
So, okay, if you're teaching your guys to close, or you're closing yourself, Is it better for you if they already know the price coming in, or if you know at some point you're going to have to let them know the price? They don't know the price yet. You're going to have to tell them, and at that point you know there's going to be objections.
From the salesperson's perspective, it is always easier if they know the price beforehand. But from a business owner perspective, you'll lose leads doing that.
Yeah.
Because there is a percentage, I don't know what percent, it depends on the offer, it depends on the market and the price point, but there is a percentage of people who shown the price before they build the gap and the emotion and speak to a salesperson, they wouldn't buy. And there's a percentage that would if they just had that conversation. So from a business owner's perspective, always better to have it on the sales call.
Yeah, build the value first, get them excited, and then just go, it's only 15K. This is why it's worth 100.
Yeah, and it's also just having the prospect realize how bad their problems are, because they might think their problem is only worth $1,000, but then when you break it down, even logically, and you have them realize how much money they're missing out on, and then what effect that's having on them personally, that's now goes to a $10,000 problem or a $20,000 problem.
Yeah, it's such a good point. There was a video recently by Will Brown, I think we spoke about this as well, where he was breaking down where he'd had this conversation with someone who had said, I'm not going to spend any more money on coaching or mentoring or business advice until I make $15,000 a month. And then Will said, what have you spent on mentoring in the past? And he said, I spent like $900 on this one course and it didn't really help. And the thing that Will said was basically like, what did you expect to be sold? What did you expect to problem solve with that kind of thing? Like, I guess when you're in the sales process, overcoming that kind of objection must be difficult because they're just used to being burned. And, in this current climate where no one trusts anyone, it must be so difficult to build up the confidence for them to go, okay, let's try again. Let's build this one more thing. How do you overcome this just absolute war on trust?
I actually love, there's so many reframes you can do. Like we can even role play it. So if you tell me you've been burned in the past.
Okay, so I bought this $600 course and didn't work, and I'm not spending a penny more until I make $5,000 a month.
Okay, no stress at all. I mean, by the way, you're in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever been in a relationship before?
Yeah.
Okay. So for whatever reason, like I'm not a, marriage counselor. I'd probably make a lot more money if I was. But for whatever reason, those past relationships didn't work out. Did you give up on love after?
No.
Why not though?
I thought I could find it. I thought there was another option for me.
Okay. And have you ever been to a restaurant and had like a bad steak?
Yeah.
Did you like stop eating steak after?
I went and had more steak. Tried to find a better one.
So is it possible that maybe it wasn't the action that you did of investing into yourself that was wrong, but it might have just been the wrong vehicle?
Yeah, but I did so much research that I felt like he was a really trustworthy guy and he had so many testimonials, and I feel like what you've got is a very similar thing. So I don't know if there's any difference between both of you.
Yeah. And look, it might, but at the end of the day, you're never truly going to know until what?
Until I try.
Yeah. And there's two options. You can either not try and never back yourself to try again, and you let that bad experience burn you not once, but burn you twice because you then never do anything to fix the problem. Or you can back yourself to make it work. I mean, what's riskier? Doing what you're doing now, making the money you're making now, or backing yourself to make it work?
Got to back yourself.
Why though?
Because I can do this and I can get to where I want to be if I back myself.
Okay, so what should we do?
Let's buy. Bang. Okay, so I buy. I saw a really good reel, which actually super relevant. It's your reel. Does this call go down as successful if I don't pay on this call?
If it's like a B2C offer or even B2B and you're speaking to the business owner, it's less successful if they don't buy on the call. You can still get follow-up sales. It's not impossible that you'll get people follow up and close later and pay after the call. The more sophisticated the buyer, the more likely that is to happen. But if you want to put yourself in the best position possible, take payment on the call. Like, what's the reason to not take payment? They might have an objection you haven't addressed.
Do they literally have to get up and go and get their card and come back over and give you the card details and literally?
Sometimes.
Really?
Just make it casual. Yeah, cool. Next steps is we do this. Is that cool, or what do you want to do?
Because then you can start the onboarding straight away, right?
100%. That's what I say.
And you could literally have like someone set up to go, okay, pay on the call, we're literally going to hand you over straight away and start right now. Yeah. And if they say no, you're like, well, at least we can do it tomorrow, whatever.
Well, if they say no, I want to figure out what's behind that.
Like, I mean, like they paid, but they don't want to jump onto a separate call straight away.
Yeah. Then you can always schedule that after.
Yeah.
I just make it super casual. I just send the link in Zoom. Cool, links in the chat. I'm just going to start onboarding you in the background. Just let me know when that goes through.
Yeah.
And just shut up.
Oh, you send the link. Yeah, cool. I love
Yeah.
it. Okay, cool. So you've got the closers cult, right? So you've got loads of guys in there who are literally leaving jobs to become high ticket closers and becoming incredibly successful, or they're already in closing positions and they want to make more money. They want to get better. They want to take your skills and implement them themselves. For those guys, and particularly you, what does a day in the life of like a high ticket sales closer look like?
A typical closer, you'd probably wake up, hit the gym, eat or have a coffee, and then take, I would say, 4 to 6 hours of calls, depending how you want to break up the day. 4 to 6 hours back-to-back calls, maybe an hour, 30 minutes before, 30 minutes at the end of your day of admin / follow-up, and then you do what you want. Now, some roles are more. The good thing about being a closer is it's self-reliant. You're running your own business. So if you want to put in 10 hours and get paid for that, you can. If you want to work less and maybe get paid a little bit less, you can also do that. It comes down to the person at the end of the day, but that would be a typical closer day, I would say.
And so what happens if you said, I really want to smash it this week, and a business lets you have 10 hours in their calendar you can take all the calls over that 10 hours. What happens if 5 of them don't show up? What do? You just lose your money.
So that would be white space on the calendar. So white space is the death of so many sales guys. So in that white space, I would do follow-up, core reviews, training, something to better yourself in that white space.
Okay, so you're literally you could even do outbound a little bit if you had a list of leads.
Yep.
What are the common misconceptions of becoming or just going into sales?
That it's 2 hours a day on the beach in Bali.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do they think it's that?
Because marketing, you'll make more money from your marketing if you do that. And I've even been told by marketers that were running my ads, like, hey, like sell the dream a bit more, sell that it's 4 hours a day. They only need 10 hours a week,
Get a Ferrari.
Yeah. So that marketing of those people making all that money from that has caused this belief that that's what high ticket sales is, but it's not, especially if you're brand new. You can get to that point. Like I could jump onto an offer and close for 2 hours a day because I've built that leverage over time. But someone starting out with no experience, you have no value. You need to build your skill first. Yeah.
And also, like, I imagine if you were given 2 calls a day, you're like, I'm pretty guaranteed I'm going to close at least one. And if that's a $10,000 offer, you're going to get at least $1,000 a day. You can live on that very comfortably.
Yeah.
If you're brand new, your close rate might be 25%, maybe less.
Yeah.
And so you need a lot of calls
Yeah.
to try and even get good, right?
Yes. At the start, you need reps to get good.
Yeah. And you literally need sales reps as well if you're a business owner.
Yeah.
What is the biggest secret in sales?
Oh. Your skill isn't based on the script. It's based on you. So it kind of comes back to the authenticity piece. Like a lot of people think that it's the right script or the right tactics that they learn from the trainer, or even someone like me. They might think, oh, Orlando's going to teach me all of these questions and all these word tracks and all these reframes. But if that's not mixed with your personality throughout the call, you'll fuck it up. There were times where I tried to sound like Jeremy Minor, or I tried to sound like another trainer I worked with, and it just didn't come across well. And then when I started threading the underlying principles with who Orlando is as a person, that's when it clicked. So I smile a lot in my objections, like just to calm people down. Some people like to lean back and just really like hold their feet to the fire. Both work. It depends on your personality.
I think that's a really, really solid answer. And it sort of links into, I guess, a discipline. I just feel like to go into sales, you've got to have a lot of discipline, because like you say there, you've got to be able to understand yourself. You've got to be able to understand the person and build the right thing into your personality. And so we touched on resilience right at the start of this. And I guess discipline and resilience come together probably in the most fierce way in a sales role, especially if you do it for a long period of time. How has discipline played a role in the development of yourself over even the last year since your business has really taken off?
Yeah, I mean, whenever I'm not on my shit, that's when I make less money. Like whenever I'm like, if I'm partying or I'm not getting sleep or I'm, chasing women or like whatever it is, and I'm not like focused, that's when I make less money. When even if I have nothing to do, but if I'm like at the desk and I'm like locked in, that's when I make more money. Because things just start coming together that you don't think about.
Yeah.
But when you're locked in, it just happens.
Dude, I literally said today, when my life's harder, we make more money.
Yeah.
As soon as it gets a bit easy and you're like, oh, I'm on the beach a bit too much, everything starts to slow down. The team doesn't work as hard. The content doesn't do as well. When your life's a bit harder and you're working in the gym hard, you're around people all the time, it just all inflates, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I guess over
it.
time that changes, but I still know people that are doing a lot of money and they say a very similar philosophy, you know.
Yeah, I think people can see it. And again, like if you've put in the hard yards and now you live a lifestyle business or whatever, but people can still tell if you did that or not. I don't know. There's something weird about it.
100%.
You can just see it.
How do I sell something to someone if my stuff is more expensive than their stuff? How do we deal with that in a call?
Why do people buy Chanel bags over a normal bag?
It's perceived quality.
Yeah. I could have one fitness program that's the exact same as another fitness program from ChatGPT that gives the same information, but I could sell this one for 5 to 10K because we had a conversation. I built the gap, I built the emotion, and I made you clear that this is a solution to that.
Okay, so what about if someone goes, this program or this service is 10K, this one's 25. They've both the people that are running it have got the same size, I don't know, the same number of awards, same testimonial, same personal brand, same ads, literally exactly the same, and you're just back to back on calls. The person's gone to one and then gone to another. I actually did this last year. I literally was like, I'm going to go for a business mentor. I might go this one, I might go this one. One was like 10, one was 25.
Yeah.
And I was really interested in like, why would I pick that one where it seems exactly the same, but you immediately move towards a more expensive one because you're like, there must be something.
Well, Mr. Prospect, why do you feel like we charge 25K and they charge 10?
Because you probably can, because the results are probably better, or the status or the people. There must be something better in there. But in my mind, it then comes back to, I know a little bit about marketing and I feel like they just put the price up there because it makes you feel like that.
Well, why do people not only buy from us at, more than 2x the price, but they also keep working with us? Why do you feel like they would do that?
Because they must be happy with the service when they're inside.
Yeah, and even though it's more, because you're comparing to a 10K option, there's also free options. There's ones that are $100. There's always going to be something cheaper, always. And if you want the cheapest, like by all means, we're not the cheapest, 100%. There's cheaper options out there. You don't strike me as the type of guy that wants the cheapest though. You strike me as the type of guy that wants the best. So do you want to go for the cheapest, or do you want to go for a program that values their service because it's based off the results that we get for clients? What type of business owner do you want to be?
You want to go for the top one.
Why though?
Because I think it'll get the results to me better, quicker, better status. I'll enjoy myself more. I'll meet better people.
And if you have that while going from, let's say, 50K a month to 100K a month, in the grand scheme of things, does 15K here or there make a difference?
No. I hate being closed. There's something about my I literally hate it. I'm like, damn, he's right. And that's going to cost me money.
Yeah.
How do you think the way that you approach sales is different to most people? Because the way that you explain it to me, at least it comes across in a different way, right? We've had people talk about sales on the podcast before. I know lots of people that do sales. The way that you explain it resonates with me better. This is why I like talking to you about sales, in the same way that, Antonia, for example, absolutely loves Shelby Sapp. She's like, resonates so much. Ideal customer. She would never become a closer, but the point is it's the same audience. Well, how do you think the way that you approach sales or the way that you come across in your brand is working so well?
I think most trainers are focusing on the tactics or this one thing to say or this word rebuttal. Whereas, and this is why I resonate with what Andy said, I focus more on the person, not necessarily just in being jacked, but the personality. So like if I was to work with you, I'm not going to teach you to hard close someone. I'm not going to teach you to be abrasive. If I'm speaking to someone that's like very like in their shell, I might have to bring him out of that. So it depends on the person, and that personality threaded with the principles and the philosophies is what makes them good, because it's not the tactics. It's not what I say. The reason I can riff on a podcast and just role play with you is, one, because I've done it a lot of times, but two, it's based off principles. Like, the exact wording isn't always the same. It's, I'm going, okay, he's saying no. I need to first change his state to yes, and then I need to handle the objection. But that's the principle. And then I can apply that to anything. So I focus on principles, beliefs, values, and the person over tactics. That's the difference.
Yeah, principles, beliefs, values. I love that, because that makes complete sense. Principles, beliefs, values. It's the same way that we talk on podcasts, really, like principles, strategies, tactics. I feel like it's funny that everyone in business, every founder in business is a salesperson, has been a salesperson at some point to get started in their business. But very few of them are what I would consider high ticket closers. You know, the way that people come across when they're very well adept at closing people who are cold-ish to them, if been through finals, whatever. I think it's a completely different ball game.
In what way?
I think a normal founder who's got a business, usually they're gonna have started from doing referrals, network, whatever. Then they're gonna have got into traffic, and they'll get people onto from ads or whatever, socials, onto calls, and then they're gonna sell with emotion and absolute depth of knowledge. And so their close rate will be good because they're able to adapt, because they're the founder. If they went into the business at a lower level, they couldn't use that. They couldn't change the offer. They couldn't say, I'm the founder. They didn't have that quite the depth of knowledge, only slightly. They just haven't got the skills. I don't think most people have the skills. I know loads of people that think they're brilliant. They're like, I make millions. I'm a great salesperson. I'm like, I don't think you are.
The founder or coach of the brand or company will always outsell a top closer. Even like, you would probably outsell your offer even if I jumped on, because you're the founder. One, you're the face of the brand, people see you. But two, even if it wasn't that, like, you have all of the knowledge over all your years of experience to answer any question. So and you've got the conviction because it's your product.
And the confidence, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
I've got the accountability and experience. But some of your guys that could come in and within a couple of weeks compete with me, that I think that's super impressive. That's insane, dude. Just finally, how does someone listening to this go about starting to reinvent themselves into another echelon of person if they want to make that change like you have over the last few years?
Change your environment. So I think the easiest way is to go traveling solo. Don't go with friends. The first time, at least. Because if you go with friends, nothing's going to change. If you go on your own, every time, hey, nice to meet you. What's your name? Oh, my name's Orlando. Where are you from? Australia. Oh, what do you do? X. Cool. And you get chatting. Every time you do that, you're recreating who you want to be, in a sense, right? Because it's like every time you introduce yourself, you're telling them, but you're also telling yourself who you are. And when you're on your own and you just got your own thoughts and you've got to go meet people, you got to put yourself out there, like, that's what will build your character and change you as a person, not like reading it from a book. I think life experience is so important in sales.
I think that's such a good bit of advice. So many people will get into the right rooms, or they will put themselves into uncomfortable situations, but with friends or with partners or with business co-founders. And in reality, I mean, you can build so much confidence by doing stuff on your own, like going to the cinema, go to the restaurant, because no one's there to see who you are. You're just yourself. And everyone does weird things when they're on their own. You become yourself. You might talk to yourself, or whatever it might be. Everyone's a bit weird on their own. You know, you have to be, because it's just you. But you end up talking about resilience. You become resilient. You become self-fulfilling because it is just you, right? And you've got to get used to meeting a lot of Australians if you try.
Yeah.
Dude,
it's also hard when you're on your own traveling, because you'll have some days where it is just you and your thoughts. And that is actually kind of scary when you're not used to it. When you're not surrounded by noise and it's just you, like, that can be a bit intimidating. But then when you get past that on the other side, like, that's where the resilience happens too.
Yeah, brilliant. I think the ultimate form of personal development is traveling solo and starting a business. It doesn't get more brutal than that.
Yeah, I agree.
Orlando, it's been absolutely awesome having you on. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas and your thoughts with us.
Thanks for having me. Beautiful.
Thank you for listening to that episode. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I enjoyed speaking to that guest. If you scroll down now, you will find a link to our Healthy Hustle newsletter. There's more than 10,000 people receiving the newsletter every week, and it helps break down how to become a top podcast guest. It will also break down exactly what this guest that you've just listened to did to create such a great episode that you've just listened to. I hope it's helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.